Hi guys, for this week's book for the NCTE Award for Excellence in Poetry, I chose Emma Dilemma, Big Sister Poems. The author of the story is Christine O'Connell George, the illustrator is Nancy Carpenter, the publisher is Clarion Books, the copyright date is in 2011. The genre is e-poetry, children's nonfiction picture book. There are 48 pages and the appropriate age would be 6 years to about 4th grade. So a short summary, the story is written from the big sister, her perspective about her little sister, what she goes through with her everyday life of having a little sister and the troubles. The beginning of the story is about all things that Emma, which is the little sister, does that seems to annoy her older sister, how she cheers loud at her soccer games, and all sorts of odd clothing attire that her friends make fun of, how she copies everything she does, she leaves out and scares her in the morning, makes her late for school. The story then turns to things that she enjoys about having a little sister, so how her sister comes to her at night when she thinks she's seen a monster and cuddles up in bed with her because her big sister is the one that makes her feel safe. How her little sister Emma laughs at her jokes when nobody else would or did laugh at her jokes, and how her little sister is able to reach boxes off the top shelf by being lifted up that her older sister is curious about and wants to know what's in them. The ending of the story is Emma's big sister has a friend Sasha over and they run off and go play. Emma wants to play with them, but they take off without her. She ends up trying to climb in the treehouse with them, falls, hurts herself, and breaks her arm. Her older sister blames herself because they ran off without Emma, but her parents reassure her that it was not her fault, it was only an accident, and that she is a great big sister. The characters, you've got Emma, which is the younger sister. She's curious about her older sister. She wants to copy everything she does, and she wants to play with her and her friends. She loves her older sister. She cheers for her at her soccer games, cuddles up with her in bed. She's always wanting to play, and she's getting into her older sister's things. Then you've got Emma's older sister, who's annoyed with Emma in the beginning, but she does love her very, very much, and this is shown in the story, even though she complains about a lot of things that Emma does. She does talk about a lot of things that they bond over with each other. And then you can tell that she loves her little sister because in one of the narratives, she goes on a school trip and she only has $3, but she chooses to spend that $3 on Emma and buys her a purple sparkly rock. And then you also have Emma's parents who are gentle and they're caring, as they reassure Emma's big sister that it wasn't her fault when Emma got hurt, and they tell her that she's a great big sister. The illustrations were watercolor. There's a lot of line used throughout the story. There's a lot of color used. The colors used appropriately. The facial expressions on the characters, there's a lot. You can always tell what the character is feeling by the facial expression, the illustrations that are drawn. The illustrations go hand in hand with the words, and you're able to tell the story or know what's being told in the story by looking at the illustrations if there weren't any words. And you can gather a lot from looking at the illustrations of the story. The plot, there's a lot of conflict from the big sister's point of view in the story, all things that Emma does and gets into of hers. It offers a lot of questions and emotions. I think the biggest conflict arising action in the story was when Emma went to try and get up in the treehouse with her big sister and her friend Sasha and ends up falling and hurting herself. You wonder if she's going to be okay. Is anyone going to be in trouble? Was it her big sister's fault? And then you've got a resolution of Emma being okay and her big sister being reassured that it was only an accident and it wasn't her fault. The setting is all over. The very first place is at a soccer game. And then you move to a grocery store, in the car, and then at Emma's home, and then up in the treehouse, and then briefly mentioned how Emma was taken to a hospital in the end to get a cast put on her arm when she fell and broke it. The theme I took away is loving your family. They're your family, and sometimes that's all you've got. They can bug you and drive you insane some days or most days, but what would you do without them? We have those bonding moments like the sisters did with coloring together and teaching her little sister things that help make the bond strong with your family. Interaction, there's a lot of interaction between Emma and her older sister. For Emma, it tends to be good because she's having fun, she's enjoying going through her sister's things and hanging out with her sister. But for her older sister, it's maybe not necessarily always fun or good. whether she admits to it or not, those interactions are going to be what creates the memories, though, something that she can look back on. I think this book is good for children because it's something that they can relate to. It offers real life experiences that a lot of children go through or can sit there and relate to their own lives with having little siblings or older siblings, maybe them being the little ones that are annoying their older siblings. Concepts in life skills that could be taken away are loving your family even though they do things you don't like sometimes, like getting into your room while you're away at school. There aren't always bad times, but you've got to remember the good times and the good things and people as well. And then a strategy or activity for the older students, they could write a poetry in the same fashion as the story about someone close to them or a sibling if they've got one, a short poem about that person, making sure that they include the positive aspects of having that person in their life. It could be a short one and then combining all the students' poems together in a short little book or story like such, and then reading that story out loud to the class so all the students can hear little excerpts from everyone. And then I can relate to the story because I myself have a younger sister too, and reading through the story, I just had a laugh because I could think back to how I would come home from school and my sister would have gotten into my room, leaving the caps off the markers and ruining them, and how I was so annoyed and angry with her at the time that those events were happening. But being older now, looking back, it's just something I laugh on. They're good memories, they're fun memories to think about.